Well, hello everyone. My name is Sergei, a guy with a weird name, and I am a co-founder of ukramedia.com. It's a website where we primarily teach After Effects via YouTube tutorials, but also we have some premium courses, like a course on expressions, which is something I'm very passionate about. I love expressions. We're kind of going to talk about this here today. And we also have tools and resources and a podcast, which my twin brother Vladimir runs. We're identical twins. We look exactly alike. In fact, let me show you a picture of my twin brother. Yeah? Well, that's my twin brother, and copy-paste over here. And as you can see, we look alike. And to be honest with you, when you run a business together, he's a co-owner as well, I mean, it comes in very handy. I mean, I could be at 2 meetings at the same time. I mean, think about that. Like right now, you think Sergei's talking to you? But is he? Yeah? All right, well, but I love sports graphics. Does anyone else love sports graphics? Yeah? I mean, come on, what's not to like about sports graphics? It's short, it's full of a lot of energy, it's just fun. And what's even more fun, like working on sports graphics, that's even more fun because you get to touch things that are 2D, like graphic design, all the way to 3D and everything in between. I mean, you get to model, texture, light things. It's fun. And then you get to rig and also do some visual effects, sound effects. And the icing on the cake for this is actually, once you're done, you get to see it live on TV and millions of people get to see it. So that's a lot of fun, right? Well, that's exactly what I did at Fox Sports. I was a senior motion graphics designer there, and I worked with a very talented graphics department. Those guys are phenomenal. And when you are around the best, you tend to kind of go to their level pretty quickly. And that department is just run really well by Michael Dolan and Gary Hartley. Those guys are sharp. I love them. But, you know, working at Fox, you get to work on some exciting projects. Things like Super Bowl, World Series, NFL, college football, NASCAR, you name it. It's fun. In fact, I'm going to show you a short video. It's like 11 seconds, I'm not going to lie. And those of you that are watching online, I'm sorry we can't play the audio, so you'll only see the video. But here we go. Here in a second, let me cue it up here. I'll see you guys next time. Just kidding, just kidding. All right, so why am I here? Well, I want to talk about sports graphics because, you know, that's something I'm really passionate about, but I want to talk about the nerdy side of it. So today I want to show you something cool, something that I did with Fox Sports. I was able to come in and speed up their workflow by converting their their graphics into motion graphic templates. And if you don't know what that is, it's a Mogurt motion graphic template. It's something that you create in After Effects. It's essentially After Effects converted into Premiere that you can bring in into Premiere and then do all the changes in Premiere without ever leaving Premiere and bothering any motion designers. And let's face it, it's awesome. And it's kind of hard for you to appreciate how amazing Mogurt's motion graphic templates for Premiere are unless I show you the before and after, right? You got to see the pain. You got to feel it. And then you'll be like, I get it. It is great. So for this example, I'm going to show you something that I created for MLB. And if you watch MLB, you've probably seen this wipe. It's just a transition. Comes in, comes out. But this is like you know, like once you finish things. And this one I did in Cinema 4D. I animated that thing and then brought it into After Effects where I did the compositing. And the next stage is the stage that I hate. It's called versioning. So what you do, essentially what you create it, you have to version it for each team. And in MLB, I think they have like 30 teams. So each team has to have a separate logo. All the colors have to be adjusted. And that can take some time. And I mean, 30 times, come on. So let me kind of show you what we had to do before. So here's an After Effects project, and I created this one so I know what I'm doing here, but if you open up somebody else's, it can take you some time to kind of navigate around, right? So if I had to change this to, let's say, some other team, I had to go into like pre-comp, and then another pre-comp, I think it's this one, and then this one, and then you get to pick a team, something like that. No, let's pick a different color. There you go, Houston. And then you go back, all the way to this comp, and then we probably should change all these colors. So then you go and find, I don't know, something like primary color that looks like it's something that would work. And then obviously you would pick a color. You wouldn't do it this way. You would do it the proper way. You would punch in the right color here. But for the time's sake, I'm going to just do it this way. I'm just trying to show you how painful this is. I mean, lots of clicks, lots of pre-comps going in and out. And I mean, and this is a pretty minimal project. It can get, you guys probably agree, it can get pretty heavy very quickly. And so once you're done, you go back here, you queue it up, you render it. At Fox Sports, we had to render, I believe, like 3 different videos, like RGB plus alpha, RGB, alpha only. So once you set everything up, you're like, okay, I'm done. Then you have to do it 30 more times. You're like, geez, come on. So you do it, you render it, and then producer comes back and says, hey, half the files were corrupted, they're not good. You guys can relate to this, right? And then it's like, oh, and by the way, some of them, can we kind of swap the colors? And then you're like, thank you. I put everything what I'm doing aside. I'm going back to this thing. And then in here, I have to go back to this thing and say, hey, they want primaries only. All right, so I'm going to duplicate this thing, put primary maybe in here, and go back, queue them up. I mean, I'm having like a PTSD just talking about this, okay? It's stressful. And then eventually, after a while, you're like, you know, we can do better than this. I mean, how can we speed this up? So then I got smart because I love expressions. I'm like, I'm going to rig this thing up to where I can just use expressions. And when I do something, everything gets changed, right? So I came up with this thing. You click on this thing, go to this effects panel, and now you just pick a team. You're like, all right, Kansas City. Boom, it's done. And then you're like, oh, that's great. Animation stays the same. All the colors were changed. Anyone has a team that want to try? Anybody? Blue Jay. Hold on. Is it Toronto? Oh, no. Yeah, we're good? So Evan Abrams over here requested it. So we have something like that. You can see instantly all the colors were updated. Super awesome, very dynamic. But then you like queued it up and someone comes back and says, hey, can you swap those colors? You're like, all right, let's do it. But I'm ahead of you right now. Watch this. Boom. Colors are swapping. Great. Then they're like, hey, hold on. Primaries only. Boom. Secondary only. And then animation stays the same. Now, as great as this is, trust me, it was great. But there's one problem. I'm still involved in the picture. I mean, when I hand something off to an editor, I picture it like this. Like, I'm like, there you go, you're done. And then I'm walking away in slow motion. All the stuff is blowing up in the back. You know, you're like, yes. Well, that's not the case with this. I have to be back in it for any other changes. So that's where motion graphic templates come in super handy. And let me show you what I'm talking about. For this, we have to go to Premiere Pro. Well, that was After Effects. There you go. And essentially what I've done, I took what I just showed you and I converted it into a motion graphic template for Premiere. And it lives right here in the Essential Graphics panel. And all I have to do is just click and drag and drop it. Oh, there he goes. Make sure you line these up. And so now we have it in here. Actually, the speed of it, the render is pretty quick. So now I hand this off to an editor and I just bounce and say, it's all yours. And if a producer comes to an editor and says, hey, I need 10 new transitions with all these teams, he says, hey, give me an hour. And then he just quickly goes over here and says, New York Mets, or New York Yankees, Atlanta. I mean, you name it, everything is adjusted. It's super cool. And if someone says, hey, swap those colors, you can quickly swap them. You can say primaries only, secondary only, and if for some reason you forgot your initials, you can just say, hey, I can just use this slider right here and shuffle through different teams. So really, by this point, I can end this presentation, and I'd feel pretty confident that you see the value in motion graphic templates, especially for broadcasting. I mean, it's a no-brainer. I don't know about you, as a motion graphic designer, we always have other projects that we work on, and anytime little changes like that, they kill your confidence, they kill your momentum that you had going, and it takes about 15 minutes just to get back into what you were doing. But let's keep going with this. Recently, I was hired to take on all the editorial stuff for NASCAR at Fox Sports and convert them into motion graphic templates. And basically, I took lower thirds and I made them what I just showed you in Premiere Pro. So let me kind of go through all of them. We're going to start at the very beginning with like small ones, and then we're going to build up to the big one. All right, so the first one I have on the list right here, in the same area right here, we have a logo bug. I can just drag it in here. I can preview it. It's pretty quick. It animates in, and then exactly at 3-second mark, it animates out. Now, before we would just give a MOV file with the alpha channel, and then we would just leave the end static. In other words, an editor would just cut it, fade it, whatever. Well, now you have a custom animate out. And the cool thing about this, you can adjust the timing. You can say, hey, instead of 3 seconds, let it be 5 seconds. And then exactly at 5 seconds, it is gone. And I'm not kidding you. I mean, it's precise. Watch this. Exactly 5-second mark, it is out. So that is cool. I mean, I know it's minor, but trust me, every little change that I'm making in here, that is basically editor's job to bug someone to change it, right? We either have to go to Viz or graphics. So that was cool. You can also flip them. You can change the driver number. You can say 4 right here. Then you can do sponsors. You can load them up. Again, you can load that up in the composition, and you can just shuffle through them in here like this. Let's do 6 here. You can change the background. Pretty cool. So let's keep going with this. Now I have another one called generic, and I can just click and drag and drop it right underneath or above that one. And let's preview this. Again, preview is pretty quick. Now, we do have a problem. Notice the generic one covers the logo bug. And before, obviously, an editor would come into somebody and say, hey, can we get another version? You'd have to give them a still for reference. They'd have to adjust it, move keyframes. Well, not anymore, because you can just come over here, and you can adjust the width on the fly. You can say, all right, that's cool. Animation stays the same. You can still adjust the timing of it, when you want it to end. You can say, hey, I want 2 lines, and then all you see just 2 lines. You can say 1. You can keep this one. You can change the text inside. The sky is the limit what you can do with these. Let's keep going. Let's look at other ones here. We have this one right here called resume. And basically, this one is just something you would do for each driver, right? You have driver's name, their social, and then it's just a quick animation. Animates in and animates out. Nothing impressive, but it is fully responsive. So you can go in here and say, Sergei, forget it. Here you go. And there you have it. Everything's shifted. It adjusts to the text shifts the shape, and you can preview the animation, and it works pretty well. Now, another cool thing, you can do the line below here. You can type, and whatever you type, it's going to shift the shape as well. So it takes the longest line that you have, which is really great. Now, the cool thing about this one, you can have more lines of text. Watch this. So I brought in like 5 lines, and the animation stays the same. Really cool. And the same concept here, you can keep typing, and it will grab the edge and shift it. So it always goes with the longest text. So it's super smart. Again, what I'm showing you, even though it seems minor, that before you had to go and bug someone to get that done. So it saves you a lot of time. And obviously you can go, I think like 10 maybe. As you can see, animation stays the same, animates out. It's great. All right, let's keep going. I think I have 2 more. So this one is we call it talent. So it's just, if you see someone in front of the camera, like 1 person, 2 people, usually like a table full of them. So for each, like 1 person, we would just have 1 looking mogurt or lower third like this. It animates, but now we have a mogurt that we can change the text. You can say Sergei, whatever, and there you have it. Everything shifts. You can adjust the width or the margin. You can adjust the timing. Now, the cool thing about it, you can also turn on the social, and it would turn on. You can have, let's say 2 people, it turns on. You can have 3 people, 4 people, and as you can see, it works. Now, you can also adjust the width, so you can shift things together. So an editor has a lot of control here. I mean, it's pretty impressive what you can do with this. It saves you a lot of time. And I think I have 1 more here. So this one is a bit more beefy. That's why I kept it for the very last thing here. So let me preview it. So essentially, we just have a driver. Let me preview this real quick. As you can see, we have a picture of a driver. We have the car number. It's a NASCAR. And then the name, those are made up. And we have column, subheader, footnote. So we can go into this, and we can play with this. So we can say, hey, let's adjust the timing. We can do that here, which I already showed you guys, so I'm not going to show it again. We can adjust the width. We can adjust the number that you see in here. We can say, hey, let's see driver number 3. And then as you can see, the name changed, the driver changed, the picture changed. So it's fully responsive. And you can say something like, hey, let's change the color here to something like this. That's great. We can completely turn it off, and everything shifts. Again, the animation stays the same. I know it's boring, I'm not going to lie. But what's amazing about this is how much time you save. And not many people are involved. Only one editor and maybe producer who tells them the orders or whatever. So let's keep going here. We have more options, and you can have as many of these options as you want. I know a lot of people feel uncomfortable giving that much control to editors. I don't know why it is, but people just don't like it. I don't know. But you can give as little or as much control as you want. And then the same thing here we have for the name area here. Let me turn those numbers back on. There you go. And so you can swap the names. You can just get rid of qualifier. You can say custom name. You can type something in here. You can change the text. I mean, the sky's the limit. You can turn off the image. You can change the color behind the driver to something like blue, and it changes. Again, all of this changes you had to do somewhere else. And subheader, you can turn it off, and everything shifts. You can turn it back on, change the text. And at any point, some of them lower thirds are usually sponsored. So you want to bring in a sponsor, so you can just do a checkbox, and the sponsor shows up. You can shuffle through different sponsors, like sponsor number 5. It's all made up. And change the color to something like orange. OK, now the last few things here has to do with the column. Now this is where the most of the code is at. So in here, you can adjust all kinds of things, like number of columns. You can say instead of 6, let's do 4. Everything shifts. You can turn off the logo. You can maybe shift things around. Essentially, it's like a lower third kit. You're creating your own lower third. And you can say number of rows, like 3. But watch this. So when I go to 4, look what happens. So I go to 4 rows. You can see this image, the car number, shifts right on top of the image, and the image goes down. So I can do this again. So it's pretty smart like that. You can rig it any way you want to. You do have to know how to do expressions, because it is a bit advanced for sure. And you can adjust the spacing. The sky's the limit. Again, that's probably too much control for an editor, but I have it. So, and obviously you can adjust everything you see in the column. You can go to each column and change the title, change the number, which is huge. At any point, you can change it. You don't have to recreate it. You can just go back to what you created and just adjust numbers. It's amazing. Now, the last thing for this Premiere portion, I did create like a quick modular keyframeless lower third for you guys to play with. If you go to ukramedia.com, you can play with this lower third. I added all the features in here. You can change, the size, the font, and everything adjusts. You can change the text. Let me go back to this. So play with it, download it, totally free. I think you'll enjoy it. It'll give you an idea of what's possible in Premiere Pro with motion graphic templates. Now, let me go back to After Effects for a second. How am I doing on time? OK. So when you create these motion graphic templates, there's a portion at the beginning to where you do a lot of repetitive stuff. And I'll be honest with you, it gets annoying. You're like, man, I'm doing this over and over. Like, there's got to be a better way. So I got smarter, and I'm like, I'm going to write a script that helps me with it. So I wrote a script called SmartRect, and I'm going to release this one soon. Basically, it has this kind of interface to where you can click on any anchor point here, like top left, and it creates a shape layer in the top left corner. I'm not sure what happened here. Hold on. There you go. And you can size it from that anchor point. You can put that anchor point on the bottom right. You can just say, hey, let's go to bottom right. And then, whoop, that wasn't it. Bottom right. And then you can change the size of it. So you can kind of start creating things, and having that ability to change things is huge. But what I love about this script is that you can select this text, right? You wrote a text and you want to convert it into like a lower third. You can say, hey, let's activate this auto size code and then adjust some margin on the left and right. So let's do like 60 pixels, and maybe on top we'll do 20. We'll do mask and then parent. And so now when I do this, it creates a shape layer, the size of my text with the margin and everything. And now I have more control. In fact, I have a code here I'm going to use. So I can go into here and I can adjust. I can animate it like this. I can actually change the text. And it's responsive, so it works. Now, I do have this code that I wrote. Let me play this real quick. So I can copy that into like a, let's go into like a X size. So Alt-click to, okay. So now it animates in like this without any keyframes, and then it animates out. And the cool thing about it, again, you can change the text. You can also go back to the shape and say, hey, instead of from the left side, let's go to right side. And now it's going to animate from the right side. So tools like that definitely help. In fact, what I love about this one, you can actually select multiple texts and run the same thing, right? And it works for you. You can adjust the text. You can do all kinds of crazy stuff. You can still do the same. Let me do this. For the size, we're just going to copy that and apply it to all the other ones in here. So now you can see instantly I animated something really cool with hardly any time at all using just this simple script. So you do get smarter as you work with shape layers and things of that nature. And the last thing I want to mention, you're probably sitting here and you're like, Sergei, that's beautiful, it's awesome, but it means nothing to me. I can't use this in my workflow. And I get it, but I still think you should create motion graphic templates because, you can create it and then sell it on something like Adobe stock. And, you create it, upload it, go to bed, wake up, eat breakfast, check your bank account, and you have a sale. What's there not to like about it? So, but with that, by the way, I'm going to hang out over here after my presentation. If you have any questions, comments, I'd love to meet you. I'll be right there. But with that, my name is Sergei Prakhnevsky, and thank you so much for your time.